Okay guys, so as you can see, I got the car in the backyard. It's actually, you probably can't see it, but backyard's out there. I got the car in the backyard, which is not a good place for a car to be. The front yard, in my case, is like the doctor's office. You go and you visit. You couldn't come out in the same day. The backyard, on the other hand, it's more like the operating room. If you go in there, you can be in there for a while. So the reason why I have this car in here is still because of the misfiring problems that we've been having. I've talked to the owner, and it turns out that these problems have been around for quite a bit. They primarily started after the camshaft was replaced. What happened, which is a common problem with this particular engine, is that it has a mechanical fuel pump, and the lobe of that mechanical fuel pump will bore into the camshaft after a while because of, I don't know, not enough lubrication, or it just wears out, and the camshaft needs to be replaced. So the owner replaced the camshaft as well as the timing chain for the camshafts. And that is where I believe the problem is. Since after that happened, after he replaced those, that's when the problems started happening. I believe that that is the problem, the cause of all the misfires. It was just, I think, a coincidence that the coil packs needed to be replaced. I replaced them. The car runs better, but it still doesn't run to its full potential. So what we're gonna do is, in this video, is correctly align the timing chain on here, so the camshafts are timed correctly. I was doing research, and it turns out even if it's off by one tooth, the computer does not know when to inject the fuel, so which causes the misfire because it injects it whenever it thinks it's right, and it turns out to be the wrong position. So what we're going to do is start off by taking the top off, disconnecting the battery, and then we're going to get into the heart of the problem. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is disconnect the negative end of the battery. You push this little tab in, pull up, that takes the cover off, and right here you have your positive, your negative. We're going to use a 10mm socket. The reason we want to do this is because there is some electrical in there. There are some electronics in there, and we don't want to short anything out or break anything because it's a Volkswagen. Let's just be realistic. It's a Volkswagen, and if anything goes wrong, it can just take a lot more time to fix this. Next thing we're going to do is remove this cover. If you have a pair of pliers, you can undo this hose clamp right here. This thing's already been loose, and behind here there are two bolts, but since all that's already off and this thing's already come off, just pull that piece off. Right here you have two little locker things. I don't know what they're called. You undo those, push down right here, pull this hose out, and with a little bit of pressure pull up, which will take off the cover. And here you have all the other fine, well-engineered German stuff. Don't really care. So what now we're going to do is pull off the coil packs and do whatever else, because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be disconnected. So we're going to start is the coil packs right here. Okay, now that we're up top, two flatheads right here that need to be unscrewed, which will loosen the wiring for the coil packs. Okay, undo the clips, and there we go. Wiring's off. I'm going to put the two little bolts back in, just hand tighten them in so I don't lose them. Next thing we're going to do is remove the 4 coil packs.
Twist a little bit and pull up. There's one.
Next thing we're going to do is remove these 2 hoses. You just squeeze right up here, pull this one off. Be very careful, these are made out of plastic. I'm probably going to end up taking both of them off so I don't break anything. Next thing we're going to do is remove the second one right in here. And, okay, finally got it. I hope. Okay, that's off. Okay, and one more hose I see connected to here is this one right here. squeeze up top and pull it off, and it's off. I'm going to go to the other side and remove the timing belt cover. Okay, next thing we're going to do is remove the timing belt cover. I only see a bolt up here and a bolt up here. Both of them are Phillips. They're kind of fat like this one right here. So we're going to try to remove both of these. Okay, by the looks of it, you have to remove this hose up here. Cover's loose, but for some reason it doesn't want to come out, so I just think that it's this hose blocking it from coming out. I'm going to quickly undo this one right here. That's not good. There's coolant coming out of it. I'm going to try to do this really quick so that I don't mess anything up. Put this back on. Okay, so that's the cover for you. Okay, now that I got that done, what I want to do is, before anything else, is to make sure the timing is on mark. So I'm going to quickly do is pull out the spark plugs so I can easily turn over the engine, and we'll keep going from there. Okay, so I got my spark key right here. This is 5/8. We're going to remove the 4 spark plugs really quick. Another thing, you don't have to take all 4 of them out. You just need to take out the first one. I'm taking all 4 out so it'll be easier for me to turn over the engine by hand. I'm gonna just use a socket to turn the camshaft over. Okay, so I've got a 16mm socket. This is going to be used to turn over the engine. I'm going to put my thumb into the first cylinder number 1, and I'm going to just start turning it over until I feel pressure building up. When you feel pressure, that's when you know that cylinder's coming to top dead center. Another thing, make sure you're not in gear. If you're in gear, this thing isn't going to turn over anywhere. Okay, so what I've been doing, I put my thumb in here, and then I used a 16mm socket to turn the engine over to top dead center. There's this little notch right in here. You align it with the arrow right here. It's an OT arrow right here. You align that, and that'll give you top dead center. Okay guys, so I decided I'm going to give you a better look at the timing marks. Right here, this is the driver's side, a passenger side. If you see this yellow dot with the notch in it, it aligns with the arrow that is right here. The tooth aligns right onto it. And then to check the bottom mark, you look right in between here. There's a little space right in between here. Let me see if I can create a shadow. There we go. Right in between there, using a flashlight, you can make out there's a nice little yellow line there and an arrow. I have the arrow pointing right onto the notch in there. And that's the timing. That's how you make sure the timing's aligned. There's the mark right under there, and there's the one right up here. Those 2 are aligned, and you had compression, you know you're fine. You can keep going. Now we're going to remove this black cover up here. I see right up front there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 bolts that need to be removed. These are all star-shaped. A T30. I don't know if you can make that out. It's T30. I'm going to quickly get in here, remove all of these bolts in here I pointed out to you. And after those are all out, we're going to remove the cover. I would recommend that you have some towels ready, just in case there's, because there is oil in this car. I didn't drain the oil out of it. Another suggestion, make sure there's nothing on the bolts, just in case. Okay, before I pull the lid off, I'm going to put the spark plugs back in. This is just because that I know that there's oil under here, and there might be some oil that's going to be splashing around, and I don't want to get it into the cylinders. It's not going to cause any damage if it gets into there, but I'd rather not have it in there.
Gotta have it clean. So I'm gonna quickly put the spark plugs back in.
Remember not to drop them in. Put them in controlled so that you don't damage anything. Okay, so I noticed that another thing I noticed that these two hoses look like they're going to be in the way. This one, you can tell the hose clamp has been pulled off before. I'm going to use the flathead to take this one off, and this one's going to use a pair of pliers to undo it.
Pull this one off.
I got myself my oil pan ready. I cleaned it out so it's free of oil. The reason I'm going to do that is because I want to put this into there, because I know right on the underside of this there should be some oil, because this is the cover. There's oil in this thing. I'm going to pull off these hoses.
Or at least try to pull them off without breaking anything. There's one hose. Second one is kind of tricky. I might need to use this a little bit more to undo him. Okay, got that done. Let's pull this guy off real quick. He doesn't want to come off, so I don't know. I don't like it. He doesn't want to come off.
Make sure there's nothing else connected to this lid before you pull it off. Looks like some of these guys are still in just a little bit.
Do him a little bit more. Okay, he's done. Other side, there's a few guys I didn't undo all the way. He's done. And right here, we have, oh, that's just the hose holding it in. Okay, we have some technical difficulties. This hose right here. See if I can pull it off without breaking anything. There we go.
Ta-da, got that off. Dropped it into my oil pan. And here's the beauty. It is so ugly. Lobes look about good. Actually, I see a difference right off the bat. This one, this lobe right here, it's pointing a little bit higher than this one. This one's kind of pointing lower. This one's pointing kind of up. So I think what I need to do is move this guy in that way by one tooth. When they were setting the timing on here, if you read about it, they say to use this alignment tool. It goes into here and blah blah blah. That tool, do not trust that tool. That tooth is going to get you off by one. There's a lot of before I started doing this job, I read this job in particular. I read that is a common problem, that people just base the alignment off of the tool, and apparently that's a big no-no, because the tool doesn't do that good of a job of aligning. We're in here, the actual chain is under here, so we need to start removing what's over here. We're going to start by removing the fuel pump. Okay guys, so we're on the other side of the engine. We have our fuel pump right here. This is the mechanical fuel pump. Right off the bat, there are several hoses to connect. There's this one right here, this little clip. I think you push in, down, and just pull it off. Okay, then there's this connector. Again, same thing. I'm gonna push it in a little bit, push the clip down, pull it off. Done. One thing I can recommend is that this, the system on here, it's basically two fuel pumps. There's an electrical fuel pump that gets fuel up into here, and then there's this mechanical one that's driven by the cams. What I'm going to do right now is relieve the pressure right under here. There's this little knob right here. You turn it and it's going to relieve the pressure that's in the system. I'm going to get something to catch the fuel. There will be a little bit of fuel coming out. So I'm going to see if I can... Oh, it's not going to work. Get a sock just to catch some of the fuel. It's going to come out of here. And screw this. This should relieve the pressure, I think. Okay, I got nothing coming out, so I guess it might be dry. I'm just going to leave it at that. Next thing we're going to do is unscrew. There's a couple bolts I see. Right on here, there's 1, 2, 3. These are hex bolts. It's going to be a size 5 hex. I'm going to get in there, take it off. And this one is going to be a pain to get to, because there's the other side of this. So it looks like I'm going to have to do is remove this little nipple right here using... It's going to be a 13 millimeter socket. I'm going to take this off. Just make sure you don't strip it. The problem is right now this thing's already been stripped just a little bit. It's very minute, but it has been stripped just a little. I'm going to use a 13 millimeter socket. It looks like it works for this. Up, and there comes the fuel. I knew it was somewhere in there. Put the sock under here to catch some of the fuel. It's kind of a shame because I put in like decent fuel into here. I poured in the 91 octane into here. Also put some seafoam into here in hopes that maybe that'll fix the problem. Okay, while that's quickly going, I'm gonna unscrew this last bolt. Okay, so I see another thing holding it back. Right under here, there are two hoses. There's a steel hose and a rubber one. Looks like I'm gonna have to use 2 wrenches to unscrew it. Okay, so like I mentioned, you're gonna need 2 17s. I'm gonna put the bigger one on the bottom, smaller one on top. Next thing I'm gonna do is get into here and remove the second hose. Okay, I got my needle noses. It's a pretty tight fit in here, so that's the reason I'm using them. I might even need to remove this bracket, which I do not want to do. So we're gonna hope I can get to there with the needle noses. There we go. The mechanical fuel pump. This isn't really the problem. Problem is a common problem is the little guy that goes onto here. He's still stuck in here. I'm not gonna pull him out. I'm just gonna leave him in there. He's the common problem. He's the one that wears into the camshaft. So, well, I got him off. We're gonna clean this area up a little bit, and then we're gonna keep going into this land of magic and whatever. Actually, I'm gonna remove this hose right here, this connector right here. Push him in, pull out. There's this little knob in here. I don't know how it goes. It comes off. I'm gonna use a screwdriver to pry up on here. I'm gonna need to move this line. This is part of the cooling system. It goes to this hose right here, then it comes back up here and goes out to. It was the hose I pulled out earlier. That was giving me some problems. I'm gonna use a T27 Torx. Unscrew the hose from here. Okay, he's almost off. What's else holding him? I don't really know what. He's just being held on right here. I'm going to leave that on. Try to remember where the bolt goes. I do not know, but I think that we might be ready to start pulling off this cover. I'm going to give you a warning right now. Have something ready to catch the oil, because this thing is going to have a little bit of oil in it. Have some towels under there or something. Anything to catch the oil. We're going to be using a Torx T30 to remove all the bolts holding it on. Right now, off the bat, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a 5th one here. I'm pretty sure there has to be more. They probably hid one somewhere. Pretty sure there's more than that. Here's another one over here. There's probably one somewhere underneath that I can't find right now. I'm disconnecting the wire on the other side right now, so maybe I could see something at least. You're gonna have to look around. I can't see what's in there. That's why I can't really tell you how many bolts there are for sure. Once I get it off, I'll let you know. So we're just gonna start removing all these fun bolts. Okay guys, so here's the unit. I unscrewed, there was one bolt here, 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 one down there, one down there, one down there, and there were 3 holding this big guy in. I pulled it off, and those are all the bolts holding it. If you look in there, there's the little runner thing I was telling you about. It's right in there. Okay guys, one quick thing I want to point out before you go and start removing this to adjust your cams. One thing you can do if you do not want to remove this, is unscrew this bulge thing right here. Inside of there, there's this little weird, I don't even know what size it is, some kind of Torx bit, I think. And it's bigger than what I have, but if you can if you have one of those, you can just unscrew this thing, take it off, and then just adjust, turn the camshaft as much as you need. You don't need any special tool to turn this. You can just use anything like a flat bar, put a flat bar in there and turn it, and it should work. You could turn it, like if you see I'm turning it right now, so you can turn it using just a regular flat bar. I'm pretty sure if you change this before, it's not going to be off by so much that you need to like turn the thing over a lot. You just need to turn it over like a tooth or more, because if you use the alignment tool that goes into here, that one is off by one tooth. So you don't need to turn it that much to align it back. So that's just a quick note before you go start tearing this off. Hopefully that'll help. In order to be able to move this camshaft, we know that this one's already aligned. So this one right here is aligned. So there can't be any problems with it because we have it aligned with the marker right here. We know it's perfect. To move the camshaft over a tooth, we need to take this lid off because this is basically adding pressure down to this and we can't move anything. We need to unscrew all these bolts. There's a ton of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I counted 23 bolts that all need to be unscrewed. I'm going to start unscrewing them. Once all of them are off, we are going to pull this cover up and we can readjust the timing. Before you do any of this, I would say double check and recheck your timing to make sure that this thing is on right. So what we're going to do is start off by unscrewing all of these bolts. So again, with the Torx T30, break all these bad boys loose. When you're doing this, you want to be careful so that you don't break any of this, because these guys are under pressure. So that's just a quick note I might add. Just be careful when you undo this so you don't break anything. We're to the point where we are going to adjust the camshaft depending which way to go. We know that this camshaft right here is perfectly aligned. The problem is not here. The problem is with this second one. So I was watching on how to align it. One of the best ways somebody recommended to make sure your angle is on, you use some sort of straight edge, and what you do, you put it across both of them and try to make sure that the angle is about the same. Looking at this one, this side is sticking up more than this side. So what I need to do is turn this camshaft this way 1 notch. I'm going to do that right now. This is done really simply. You just need to compress this thing. I can compress it a little bit by hand, but then it'll get too hard to go for it. So compress it and basically just try to turn this thing over whichever way you need to. I'm going to try to get some chain here because it's not as easy as I made it sound. Okay, I moved it over a tooth. Let's put it back down. See if anything's changed. Looks like I might have overdone it just a tad. The other side doesn't want to go all the way down, so it might be messing with my results. That looks like looks like it's too far now. The problem is that this side is kind of like knocking me off. That looks a little too high. Let's see if maybe I jumped it too much. Let's move it just 1 tooth back. So the problem basically I'm having right now is that this thing is up right now because of the timing belt. It is up, and it's messing with the results of this one. I need to try to get it to about the same spot and measure it. I think what I'm going to do is put the lid back on, bolt it down, and see if it looks any different. Okay guys, so as you can see, I put this thing on. This is just a test fit. I've been playing around with it for a little while now. I think I finally got it to where it is perfectly aligned. I'm going to take the phone off the tripod to show you what's up. Right here, this is the cam that's aligned via this timing mark right here. When you use a straight edge, put it right here, you can see that the lobes are touching the straight edge. Do the same thing on the other side and check it out. They are touching as well. So this is where it should be. What I have to do now is take this thing off, clean it up, apply this sealant, and then we can put it on. Quick tip is I used a framing nail to hold the plate in. Okay, when you're going to be applying the gasket maker, you do not apply it to every single slot you see. According to the manual, you apply it to this outer slot that goes right here, these two little inner ones, this outer one right here, this one right here, and these 4 circles. Those are the only places where you apply your gasket maker. So what I'm going to do is start applying a thin coat of gasket maker on the mentioned spots. And what I'm going to do, get it on there, and then we're going to start installing this thing. I'm going to point out right now that I'm not going to torque it down. According to the directions on this gasket maker, you do not torque it down. You just tighten until you see some of the RTV coming out. As soon as you see it coming out, that's when you stop, and then you wait an hour for it to sort of dry up. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to start. Okay, now that I got the sealant all on where it's supposed to go, here comes the slightly harder part, because now we're supposed to put it on without disturbing the bead. I couldn't do a continuous bead all the way around because it's a really long one to do. So as you probably noticed, there were several jumps in it. So basically what I'm going to try to do right now is very carefully install this thing without breaking the bead anywhere. Another thing I'm going to point out is that I already cleaned the bolts. I put them in an alcohol solution. They just stood around in there for a little bit. I shook them up so there shouldn't be any oil on them. I don't think you have to do that. I don't think it matters if there's some oil on there, but I just cleaned them just to be sure, just to be safe that I don't have to do this job twice. Okay, so using Torx T30, I'm going to start tightening this cover. Right now I'm just going to hand tighten it. You start from here and then you work your way out. You go from here to here to here to here to here and here. And I'm just going to work my way out until I get it to where I have gasket maker coming out from the cover. Okay guys, so my camera ran out of memory, so I had to cut the recording really short. It actually just cut itself off. This has been standing around for about an hour. During that hour, I was transferring files over from the camera to the computer so I could have more space to keep recording. It's been about an hour, so what I'm going to do now is tighten all these guys down. These are just tight enough to where I have the sealant coming out, but it's not all the way tight. What I'm going to do now is tighten it all the way. The torque specs are really, really low. You do not want to overdo the torque specs for this thing. I was doing the research and it says the torque specs should be about 6 foot-pounds, 5 to 6 foot-pounds, and then turn it a quarter turn. That's what it is. So I'm going to quickly, before I forget, there's a little cap goes into here. I'm going to put that cap in and then we're going to do the rest of this. Okay guys, here's the little cap I was telling you about. It's right here. What I'm gonna do really quick, I don't think you have to do this, but I'm just gonna do it just so to be safe. I'm gonna put a little bead right around the corner here, and I'm gonna just press it in. So let's very gently just apply a small little bead. Again, I don't know if you have to do this because it was just in there, but just to be safe. I got a little bead all around it. I'm just gonna press it into there and call it good. Because the reason I'm just doing it this way, it might seem like I'm just doing a hack job, but the reason I'm doing it this way is because there's no way for this thing to be held in here. So I'm just gonna apply a little bit of that, and there we go. By the way, before I put it in there, I did use some alcohol in it to clean it up, so that don't worry about that. Now what I'm gonna do is start tightening all these guys down. It was about 5 foot-pounds, so it's a little less than hand tight, because hand tight is about 10 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna tighten it like so. Make it about hand tight, which will give me about 10 foot-pounds. And call it good. Okay, and there we go. Now it's gonna take 24 hours for this thing to cure, so I can't start the car or get any oil on here for 24 hours. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna clean some of the other parts. I just realized that I could still put this piece on without having to do anything here. So what I'm gonna do is take this blade right here. I'm gonna clean off some of the gasket material that's still hanging on here. Clean this area up, and then we're gonna put this thing back onto here. Okay, using my sock, I've again dipped in alcohol. I'm gonna just clean off the perimeter where the surfaces are gonna be meeting, just so it's all clean and good. Okay, so I got that done. I'll quickly wipe down this surface here. And there we go. So, all that's left is for my bolts to get cleaned. I have them right here in my cleaning jar. I'm gonna make sure they're dried off, and then we're gonna apply the bead of sealant onto this cover right here, and we're gonna put it all back. Okay, so I got my bolts cleaned. What I'm going to do now is apply the bead to this cover. They do sell gaskets for this, but I'm on a budget, and gasket maker works pretty good. It's not as good as the real stuff, but it'll still do its job really well. So I'm just going to use gasket maker for this. When you're making the bead, what you want to remember is when you're going to be going over it, you want to go around all the bolts. So you're going to have to go around all of this stuff. You go under it and then you go around it. This one, be careful because this is where the oil goes through. So you're going to need to carefully make a special seal just for this. But I think it's all that's worth pointing out. So we're going to just attack it right now. Now that we got that done, all we need to do is very carefully and gently put it on to where it goes. You're going to need to work around this wire a little bit right here to get it on, but we'll just try to very carefully do the job. You want to be careful not to break the bead that you already made, because any breaks could be a potential leak in the future, so just be careful there. Okay, there we go. Got it on. Now what I'm going to do is just hand tighten it for now. The bolts that go on here are Torx T30. Okay, now that I have it more or less on here, I'm going to tighten it just a little bit until there's the stuff coming out, which as you can see is starting to come out. So I'm just going to work that like that all the way around. Okay, now that I got that done, I'm gonna wait about an hour and then I'm gonna tighten these down. I'm probably not gonna show it because I'm gonna run out of memory. But just to let you know, you tighten these down to 7 foot-pounds. It's really low, 7 foot-pound rating. Get those down to 7 foot-pounds, which is a little less than hand tight, and you'll be golden. Okay, guys, so what we're gonna be doing is putting on the valve cover right here. So I'm going to be reusing the old gasket that was on here, and because I'm doing it this way, what I'm going to do before I put it back on, I'm going to apply some RTV around the perimeter. I don't know, this is I guess personal preference. I mean, I've seen some guys where they just literally just take the old thing, just put it back on and call it good. Some guys like to put a little bead around it to prevent any leaks. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put some RTV right around here, around the perimeter of the area, just to keep it free from the oil leaks. So again, this is personal preference. If you can afford to buy a new gasket, they're like 25 bucks at AutoZone or your auto parts store. So what I'm going to start doing is quickly apply a bead around the perimeter, and then we'll get going from there. Okay, now they got the bead all done. What we're going to do now is put the cover back on, move some of the stuff out of the way so that I can just put it straight on, not have to worry about anything. Just checking to make sure that the gasket's all the way in so that there's no problems with anything. So I can just literally just drop it in and call it good. Okay, I had to move just a few hoses out of the way, and we are, by the looks of it, we are on point. Okay, what I'm going to start doing is put the bolts back in. I cleaned the bolts before I put them back in, so I'm just letting you know that these bolts are already clean. I'm going to hand tighten them first before I start doing anything else. Okay, by the way, I'm just going to let you know I'm using a Torx T30. What I'm going to do now is just very lightly go over this, starting in and working my way out. Okay, now that's done. I have about an hour before I'm going to fully torque it down. Torque specs are also really low. I think it's like 7 foot-pounds, so it's super low. Okay, guys, so it's been about an hour. Pretty sure the gasket material is more or less workable now. All I have to do right now is just tighten down a little bit. I'm going to torque it down to specs. The torque specs for this are 7 foot-pounds. So it's literally, if you make it hand tight, like just with hand tight, like that's about hand tight right there. I can't get it any tighter than that. That is what you need. So I'm going to start working my way around it. Okay, there we go. Next thing I'm going to start doing is putting back everything that I took off. So the fuel pump, this weird thing, I don't even know what this thing is called, it goes here. Just attach everything else and we're almost there, almost ready to call it. Hey guys, so what we're going to install now is this weird thing. I don't even know what it does. But we're going to install it because I'm assuming since it came on this car, it's an important piece. So it has an O-ring here. I cleaned up the O-ring to make sure it's good. So all we're going to do is just put it in. There's 3 bolts here. If you look at the bolts, they're a little different from each other. There's one that's big and 2 smaller ones. The bigger one is made to hold a bracket that is right here. It attaches to the bigger bolt. Just to let you know, all of these are Torx 30. So just plug it in and get going. Okay guys, so I couldn't find the torque specs for this, so we're just going to make it as tight as we can by hand. That's basically the best option I can come up with right now, because I couldn't find any torque specs. Apparently you don't really have to take this thing off. It helps if you take it off, but I'm just going to tighten this as tight as I can and call it good. Okay, now that that's on, we're going to put on the fuel pump right here. Clean up the surrounding area to make sure it's clean. A quick tip for when you go to put the runner in, I would recommend that you just add a little bit of oil into the bore and on this little wheel right here, so that if you start it, it's not going to be dry. Okay guys, so next thing we're going to do is attach the mechanical fuel pump. We're going to start off by putting on this hose and then this hose, and we'll put it in place. The reason I want to go in this specific order is because of the hose clamp that's right here. It's a really weird one, so I'm going to need to set it up just the right way so I can put it on easier. I removed the little pressure release valve so it's easier to put the thing on. Okay, so I got the first one on. To get the second one on, second one's literally just two 17mm nuts. You're gonna need to get those on. First thing I'm probably gonna do is put the pump in, and then we can. Okay, so make sure you don't forget your own O-ring. I almost forgot to put that on. Wouldn't have been good if I forgot it. Slide it in like so. And I'm having a little problem. My O-ring is a little too big. And what happened? I put on a replacement O-ring. Problem is, it's I guess too wide or something, because it doesn't fit all the way on. Like, probably gonna try to screw this on and see how far it'll go, but it doesn't look like it'll work. Probably gonna have to. Yeah, it's not working out too well. O-ring's not working out. It's too big for this. And I'm having problems with some hoses here. So this O-ring that I put on, it's too big. I don't know what to do. It's just too big for it. I'm probably gonna have to do a hack job here and put on, make an RTV seal for this. I can't get this thing on. I guess I'm gonna have to make some make a RTV gasket for it. It's kind of a hack job, and it's something I do not like to do, but I don't really have any other options. The other seal is complete garbage, so I guess I'm gonna have to do it this way. Okay, so please remember, I don't want to do it this way, but I have to, just because I cannot get I don't have a gasket for it. The ring that was on here is complete garbage, so I had to get rid of it. And so this is my only option, is to make a sort of a gasket, which is I'm not proud of, but I have to do it this way because it's my only option. Okay, now I need to let this stand for an hour. While that's standing, we're going to keep attaching all the hoses that are left. I have this one right here that needs to be attached. Using a 17mm wrench, we're going to help it out a little bit. I think I got it on enough. Next thing we can attach is this thing. Don't know what it does, but I mean, it does something since it's on here. Also, this fuel line, this line right here, this vacuum hose or something. I don't know, there's some gunk in here, but see if I can get that out real quick. Okay, I got that in. Snap it in place so I don't have to deal with it anymore. Next thing, we're going to get this guy back on. Next thing, we have this hose. And we also have some connector. Assuming this connector goes here. Have this hose right here. At this point, I think we can put this hose back into place. If you remember, I took it off right here. I'm gonna try to get him back on. First thing, we probably need to pull these wires through under here, because they were under here. Okay guys, so it's been a little bit of time. I think almost about an hour has passed since I've put the fuel pump on. We're going to finish up with the fuel pump. I don't know, torque specs are super low for it as well. I read that they're 7 foot-pounds, so there you go. Hand tighten it, and you know you're about there. Okay, I'm confident that's good. Next thing we're going to do, put on this pressure release valve, or whatever you want to call it. Goes in right into here. 13mm again for it. Put hand tighten it onto there. Seems tight enough. And just put the lid back on. Lid's kind of important. It's really important. Make sure you have the lid back on. Okay, I got the lid on. Okay, on the other side, we're going to hook up these two hoses right here. This one, if you remember, just literally just clips back on. So slide them on place. Okay, there we go. Got that on. Put this little hose back in place. Put this spring back on. Put this lid. Make sure the lid is free of debris and there's no debris in here. We put the lid on. Okay, so I quickly cleaned the cover for the timing belt. Cover's right here. Now what we're going to try to do is slide it into place without breaking anything, because it's in a really weird spot. It's kind of weird to get to it. To put it back in, that is. To get to it's not that bad. It's putting it in that's the hard part, because there's a hose right here and you have to get it between the hose, and everything just has to be perfectly aligned when you put it in. I don't even know how I took it out. Okay, so now that I got that on, let's put the 2 bolts on. Well, one less now, huh? And then just go straight for it, put the coil packs in and call it good. Because the sealant's pretty solid right now, so I don't think it's going to get any more worse. Okay, that's done. I'm going to clean some of the stuff out, make sure you don't leave anything in the engine bay. Lid's on. Everything looks to be on, connected, screwed on. I think everything's good. Let's get the cover back on. Okay, so got the cover on, and we're just going to connect the sensor. So basically, we are done. Got everything on. I'm going to wait till tomorrow to start it because I want all of the gasket maker material to harden. But we are basically done. All I have to do is cover up the battery and connect it. I'm going to actually turn the camera. Battery's down here. Connect the negative, put the cover on, and then put on the air pipe that goes there, and we're going to be done. But basically, that's how you do it. This is how you change, or you can say check, the alignment of the camshaft timing chain.